come to the bold analysis. William Ruto is highly alerted and warned that the Sabasaba protests that the Azimio la Umoja wing has called on Friday is a ticking time bomb. And it cannot be ignored looking at the current situation the country is. This country is in a precarious situation and Kenyans are hurting. The government side have give some ultimatums, to a very laughable. I see Muragura, I think the co-chair of the Bipartisan Talks Committee, gave a 7-day ultimatum to the Azimio la Umoja side to resume bipartisan talks this week, so that in what was seen as a plan to try to avert that Sabasaba protest. And when I saw it, when I listened to, I think, that press briefing when that statement was being made, before the finance bill, before even the starting, the discussion about finance bill, immediately the finance bill started, Otiende Amolo is on record saying that the government side decided we're not even showing up for those meetings. The Azimio la Umoja side committee chair, Otiende Amolo, wrote letters to the other side of government, and even some of those letters went unresponded to. So there've been silence, and I was not equally shocked, because I think I was on record in this podcast saying very well that the government was not committed in any sort of a talk, and what was just going there was just to buy time and it was just a delay tactic, and to try to manage the situation other than actually objectively solving this side. But Azimio la Umoja have actually refused, or rather declined, to resume those bipartisan talks, and instead, yesterday in Ugenya, that is Siaya County, Raila Odinga made an announcement of the Sabasaba to be a non-stop, a daily protest until William Ruto gets to understand the people's voices. I need to just make it very clear that this can be underestimated, but it has a big potential. It has a potential of collapsing the system, as the protests have a potential of reaching the boiling point. I want to explain it this way. You need to ask yourself, why do you think people will come out to go to protest? Why do you think? If it is about the finance bill, it has already been passed. Now it is going to be debated in the court of law. If it is about the cost of the VAT, it has already been passed and people are already feeling the pinch. The reason why I am actually feeling the very clear point here on the potential of this collapsing the system is because we are in a situation where the good Kenyans feel that the leadership has failed to listen to us. And the other avenues have already been exhausted. I think the Azimio side, they tried to put a fight in the National Assembly. But the leadership came out and bragged about the majoritarian rule, the majority they had in the National Assembly, the vote majority they had in the National Assembly, and they got their way. The public participation was very elaborate, and nearly 80% of those who appeared before the budget committee made it very clear that some of the provisions that were in the finance bill were actually non-priority, and said no to them. But the leadership got their way through thick and thin. And the feeling is that William Ruto and the company shareholders have failed to listen to the Kenyans. So that is the understanding, that we are coming out because he has failed to listen to us. And so the only language that I can listen to is this one. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. And I want to still reach out to you, special way towards Sarah's 100 bob challenge for the last expense and the whole bill around his last medical bill, the last expense, and the welfare of the child. Now, what's happening, I think I may just need to still repeat, because we have new subscribers coming in. And of course, also those who are not yet, those who did not know, those who are wondering who is Sarah. Last year, we supported this lady. She was diagnosed with acute leukemia, and we fundraised to 1.3 million to help offset the medical bill. And she was out of the hospital, but again, earlier in the month of June, she was overwhelmed and taken back to the hospital, and was in the hospital for a while, for a short period. But we lost her last week on Monday. So I know most of us, and I want to say thank you. Yeah, the Bold family, we have been coalescing around her for quite some time. And I want to say thank you for those. We have already started. And I want to say thank you for those who are turning up. We're just doing 100 bob challenge, probably for just this. And so that we can finish and believe that everything happened for a reason. And we've pinned the number there. Now, Saba is fire because of these three reasons. And I want you to pay attention. I want to ask you to pay attention. The high cost of living is biting hard, is cutting across. So the whole protest, or any protest, is not about Raila. And I've been saying, I remember when I used to analyze the first one of mass action, I said the government side projected and profiled those protests as Raila Odinga's personal schemes, or rather anger because he did not become the president. Because by then it was centered around the server, the IBC and so. And I remember saying that we needed to shed off the question of the server and pick the cost of living, because that cuts across the political party alienation. Now, as we speak now, the discussion about Sava, I've listened to the messaging on the Azimio la Umoja side. I think they've stuck on the issues of finance bill 2023, because even the IBC has not really emerged on table. Those are some of the things that I actually felt like the concern on the cost of living. When people come out, the discussion is magnified, because I know I've seen it how the international media normally report about these occurrences in this country, and the reporting is normally centered, or rather is characterized on Raila Odinga leading the troops to disapprove William Ruto's power. I'll be glad, and my projection will be that the Kenyan media and the international media, even us, would actually project it very clearly that Kenyans are coming out to protest about the high cost of living. Now, that is a headline that is eye-catching, other than a political headline of Raila wanting to dethrone William Ruto. Very clear. So we're looking at it either way. You know, the first one was we are going to Statehouse, we're going to this. But now, when this comes out clearly as a cost of living issue, it is a discussion that, starting from Mama Mboga, I was told there is Mama Mboga and Baba Mboga, starting from Mama Mboga to the farmer in Kitale, Mama Mboga in Kibera, to the farmer in Kitale, to a school teacher in Kapsowar, all of us are feeling it. And it's not going to be debatable that the cost of living is high. Now, these people, what the reality must also be said here is that it does not have an overnight solution. It does not have a quick fix. So how you gonna quell it? You will have to look for alternative means to bring on the table, to try to bring it down. And that is number one reason why I think it's more lethal than even the first phase. Now, we also have a demoralized public service. Demoralized in the sense that, there have been a discussion about salary choppings. Salaries have been chopped. If you look at appointments and promotions, there have been discussions about how promotions are skewed. In the police sector, NPS was at loggerheads with the IG on who is supposed to be legally bestowed with the responsibility of promoting officers. And people protested that those who've already been promoted, maybe apart from merit, are promoted on some other unfamiliar basis. And these are things that have been creating discussion in different sectors in this country. So why the public service issue is something that will also come up is, if they hear that people are not going to work, what do you expect? Yes. They're not. Who will buy the fear? They will buy the fear, which is there. It's a reality that when it is that Friday, I don't know, do you expect people to go to work? And if it starts Friday, then it goes up to Sunday, then look at, and they know, even those who developed the concept, they looked at Friday to go throughout until Saturday and Sunday, because they know that those days people are not going to work, and so people will come out in numbers. That's it. The court losses, the court flows, the court losses is magnifying grand UDA flows. So leaders, the government side will come out with the narratives to demystify mass action and to demystify Sabasaba protests. But those Sabasaba protests, those that are also saying about things are not going on wrong, if you're saying opposition is misleading the public, then who is misleading the court? Is everyone wrong? Is it a right coincidence? Is it a real coincidence that it can only be you who can be right? And that is why, people are getting the momentum that things are wrong. Even the courts are saying that things are wrong. 2 cases have been lost in court just recently. The finance bill, thrown away. They're going to appeal. Look at it. There is the CAS, also thrown away. So it's also showing the public that it's not just us, Kenyans, who are saying, even the courts are siding with the public that things are not right. I don't know what you think. I'll come back with a topic that I've always been asked about. And I think I was waiting for the story to develop about Irene Masit fleeing out of the country. I'll have to revisit that, so make sure you watch this podcast to the end. Thank you very much, and I still urge us, let's do the 100 bob challenge kindly for Sarah, and I believe that we will manage. Thank you.